Now what? Now you threw your money away. You threw your money away on a horrible game system. Just the worst. Anything's called Ouya, and I think that's the pronunciation, even though there's no W in it. That should have been the dead giveaway. Or is it Ouya? Ouya. Anyway, it's shit. It's total shit. It's an awful game system, and I know you feel like you just got robbed. And you did.
You know, the funniest thing about the Ouya is I technically own 2 of them. And the funny thing about that is that I technically didn't spend any money on either of them. The first one I merely traded a few Pokemon cards for. I mean, like $30 worth of Pokemon cards, so I guess I still flushed some money away. Fuck, I kinda wish I'd kept some of that printed cardboard. Regardless, that little inverted metallic chode was created by a now bankrupt company that had it funded on Kickstarter. The company in question was Boxer 8 Inc., later rebranded to Ouya Inc. As for the Ouya console itself, it was launched at $100 USD and was a little Android-based box that could run only downloaded games. Yeah, no CDs or cartridges here, but regardless, it was kind of trash. Today on Stuff We Play, we're gonna dive into this thing and see why, for a whole host of reasons, I'd call it the worst video game system ever made. And remember, that's my thoughts after having one of them. Imagine my surprise when, a few months later, I got given a second Ouya, complete in box, with the manual, with another controller on top of the 2 I already had. Shiny and freshly metallic like a silver bullet that's about to pierce my cold, dead vampiric heart. If you're a longtime viewer of the channel, then you'll know I often talk about Epic Games and More, a video game store that, like me, is based in Victoria, BC. That's right, today's video is brought to you in part by Epic Games and More, and unlike the Ouya, they're all pretty rad. I shit you not, this second Ouya was given to me by Jacob and Yaz over at EGM. And they were like, "Oh Jamie, congrats on 20,000 YouTube subscribers. How about we sponsor you and do a giveaway to celebrate? Are you a fan of video games new and old? Video game plushes? Art? What about trading in your old game stuff for new game stuff for some of the best trade-in value on Vancouver Island? Well, EGM has your back. I've been shopping here since I was a teenager, and over the years, the store has truly become a staple of the gaming community here in Victoria. They get in brand new Nintendo Switch and PS5 games, import titles, and even oddball old school consoles that you rarely, if ever, get to see in real life. Like, they even once got in my favorite hunk of plastic with a strategically placed hole in the back, the Atari Jaguar. EGM is open from 10 AM to 8 PM most days, with inventory updates posted to their official Facebook page. They're located in the heart of beautiful Quadra Village at 2612 Quadra Street, just across from Fairways Market. And for this video, they've given me this complete in-box Ouya as a prize to give away. But, of course, the Ouya has few, if any, redeeming qualities. So to sweeten the deal, we're also giving away an official Stuff We Play t-shirt as well. And of course, that's going to be available in a size and color of your choice. You have until the end of the day on the 1st of October 2021 to enter, so follow the Gleam link in the description below and make sure to share the giveaway out with your friends too. The winner will be announced publicly both on Twitter and via the community tab on this very channel. Thanks again to EGM for making all of this possible, as admittedly for all my issues, I thought the Ouya seemed like a really neat concept when it was first announced. It garnered over $8.5 million via a Kickstarter campaign. That was a record-setting number, and it seemed like a system that, in its own unique way, kind of felt truly next-gen. I mean, sure, the PS4 and Xbox One were on the horizon, which were true next-gen systems that were leaps and bounds more powerful, and Nintendo also had the Wii U in the works, which definitely existed. But the Ouya seemed really unique. At its heart, admittedly, it was just a glorified Android phone with HDMI out and no screen. But it was also going to have its own exclusive Ouya store with potentially its own exclusive titles, along with a free-to-play model that let you try out a lot of games before you outright bought them. At only $100 for a system and controller at launch, this seemed like a really good deal too. Potentially it'd even be a home for a bunch of new unique indie titles. Well, that was until it released. This thing didn't enter onto the scene with a bang, but with a whimper. To say that people overwhelmingly didn't like this thing would be to put it lightly. I know I often approach things like this with a kind of documentary feel, but I really don't think that's apt for talking about the Ouya. From launch, this thing was a disaster, and a highly publicized one at that. And as for the system itself, it was based around a 1.7 GHz ARM processor and came standard with an HDMI port, some assorted USB and Ethernet stuff on the back along with a barrel plug for power, and a whopping single gigabyte of storage. Now that was later upped on some later models released after 2014, along with its RAM being up from 8 GB to 16 GB. The Ouya should have bounded onto the scene like a breed of ram wanting to rut. This thing should have rocked. But it really didn't. The Ouya was killed in 2015, and its online servers, which mind you were required to set up a system, were taken offline in 2018. It was a failure in every sense of the word, and if you get one that's new old stock nowadays, then good fucking luck using this 1080p sex toy. So the first Ouya I got had never been turned on before. Though it was missing the original box, which the giveaway Ouya has, it had very clearly either never been turned on or had been factory reset at some point before being traded into EGM. In 2021, a factory stock Ouya has some major issues. Namely, to even set up your system, you have to connect it to the Ouya servers, which, again, have been offline for over 3 years now. Granted, there are some ways to get around this, including some fan servers, but to access any of this, you have to mod your Ouya. And you may think that this is a rare scenario, but nope! The complete in-box Ouya I got from EGM is also new old stock. In fact, it's so new old stock that some of its cables have never been removed from the plastic wrap. As it'd have to be modded to even work anyways, I'll be putting my already modded Ouya in this set I'm giving away. If you end up in this situation, well, first, what made you hate yourself enough to buy a Ouya? But second off, modding an Ouya ain't too difficult. Thanks to that nifty USB port in the back, you can plug this thing up to a PC. And is it really considered piracy if you have to hack something to even get it to work? Anyways, I'm not a modding expert and there are modding tutorials out there that are better than anything I could make, but just know that I ended up fucking around with this thing for nearly 3 hours before I got past the initial login screen. And after that point, it also had some issues connecting to my Wi-Fi network as well. So that was fun. To say that I managed to get past it as well is entirely accurate. At some point, I actually just gave up screwing around with it and just begged my friend Jazzy for help, as I am a simple girl who just wanted to play some 8-year-old mobile games. Thanks to Jazz though, I finally managed to get into the Ouya itself and the whole experience was functional yet underwhelming. With that in mind though, I still find it fit to celebrate with a nice glass of some hard apple cider. Before we dive into the dreadful gaming experience on this thing, we have to talk about the absolute war crimes that are the controllers. So, calling these controllers garbage is a bit too kind. For official pads, these things feel an awful lot like old school Mad Catz controllers that have been left outside for a few days. The trigger buttons are squishy, the analog sticks feel imprecise, and the D-pad is so stiff that it actually hurts my fingers after around half an hour. And the build quality is just dreadful. Everyone hates modern controllers that run on AA batteries. It's why Microsoft insists on doing that after all these years of their controllers. And goodness, there's no rechargeable batteries to be seen here. The Ouya controllers run on 2 AA's each. So how do you think you insert these things? I mean, the sensible solution would just be have a battery slot in the back. Well, that would make too much sense. To actually insert them, you literally have to pry off the front of the controller. The battery slots are located in the grips, and the covers are held on so tightly that when you go to put in batteries, you feel like you're tearing the pad down. There's even some weird exposed bits of controller PCB as well. Ugh. Concerningly, a few times where I took off the left side of a controller faceplate, it ripped off the left joystick with it. Now, that was easy to reattach and it didn't feel any worse afterwards, but that definitely does not leave a good first impression. On hand for this video, I have 3 official Ouya controllers, and one of the fucking things just does not work. I've tried all sorts of batteries and pairing it to both the systems on hand and even cleaning it, but the pairing lights keep on flashing and it just will never actually pair. Going off my own experiences then, this means that 33% of all Ouya controllers I've used have broken down, and the other 2/3 feel like they're clinging on for dear life. Going back to the battery thing, even once you're past the faceplates, the experience still sucks ass. You're supposed to put 1 battery on each side and secure them using these little slips of rope. And by secure them, I mean that if you don't use the little ropes, your batteries will get stuck in the goddamn controller. When I got one of my Ouya pads, there was a battery lodged in there, and I had to awkwardly pry it out using a flathead screwdriver. It's designed so bad that I wish the controllers were just wired. I'm sure there must be ways to use other USB or Bluetooth controllers though, but if you opted for buying this thing instead of a modern beefy system of the time like a PS4 or Xbox One, you were probably already on a budget anyways. When we're talking about a $100 game system, even a cheap $20 USB controller marks a large jump in price. That said, maybe the games on Ouya kind of make up for it. As someone who eagerly watched the Ouya Kickstarter campaign, and then watched the system crash and burn and make its way to clearance bins everywhere, I saw this as a potentially great place for indie devs to maybe find a new audience. And indeed, some devs did. I'll give the Ouya that much credit. I mean, its best-selling title was Towerfall, created by Matty Thorson, who would later create the incredible Celeste. This was the Ouya's killer app, selling a whopping 7,000 copies. Oh god, that's kind of depressing. I was really excited to play it though and tried downloading it to my modded system. Fortunately though, my Ouya seems to have some issues getting the full versions of games to work, with some of them merely being stuck in their free demo forms no matter what you do to them. And in the case of Towerfall, every time I tried to play it, it'd either crash on boot or lock up at the title screen. But surely there are some fun things to play on the Ouya, right? I mean, technically yeah. There are a host of emulators for the system ranging from the NES to the Sega Genesis to the SNES, and even some great mobile ports of older titles. Sonic CD, Raiden, Pure Solar, even Rogue, all play pretty well on the Ouya, the only major dampener being the terrible controller and clunky Ouya interface. I even tried playing Sonic 4 Episode 1. Well, the 1-level demo version anyways. Yeah, for some reason whenever I try to buy a full version of a game on the modded Ouya, it gives me an error that I have insufficient funds in my wallet, then displays that I have around 48 euros in my wallet, and this is doubly weird because last I checked I live in Canada. Regardless, Sonic 4 on the Ouya is terrible. It's a straight port of the mobile phone version, meaning that the graphics look weirdly pixelated and the screen spins around every time you go through a loop. It kind of makes me a bit nauseous. Actually, I wanted to make a joke here that, oh, it makes me sick is a sentiment that applies to the whole Ouya, but no, that's not really true. The Ouya, for all its terribleness, does have some decent aspects, all things considered. Yeah, the controller stinks, it's a pain in the ass to use, and the game selection is mediocre if you can even get anything to play on it. And even then, most of those games are mobile ports, like straight up mobile ports. But you know what? There were a couple of high points. I mean, look at this video output. That's a crisp 1080p. Plus, it screams at you when you turn it on. Ouya. And you know what? Though a lot of the indie titles I did get to try on it didn't really leave much of an impression, there is one indie game I did play on the Ouya for this video that I'd never heard of before that I thought was really cool, unique, and fun. This game is Blue Kid 2. It's a retro-inspired platformer that not only pays homage to classic titles like The Great Gianna Sisters and The Awesome Possum, but it also works in its entirety. Holy shit, I can't believe the whole game is playable as a point of praise here. Anyways, it's pretty simple. You just run around, jump on enemies, and collect collectible stars. But it doesn't need to be more than that. It's a fun little game that has a lot of character and polish, and even references to games like Sonic and Kirby. I'd say this title alone might be reason enough for a collector to track down Ouya, if it literally wasn't currently on the Nintendo Switch eShop for under $3. But as this title is here, I'm sure it'd be all the better with an actual controller. So what's the deal with the Ouya? Is it an example of the art of failure? Should you buy an Ouya in 2021? In 2012, should I have spent my time earning money to back towards this thing on Kickstarter instead of listening to illegitimately obtained Daft Punk and Weezer tunes on a jailbroken iPod Touch? And to answer all of those questions, all I can say is, it's just not good. It's out to be a system that had an identity of its own, separate from the major players of the time, but other systems came and went and did what it does better. Why track down Ouya when an old Apple TV can do most of the same stuff better? Or just use an HDMI dongle of one of God knows how many Android phones out there. The Ouya is the worst system ever made to me, not because of how badly it failed, but because of how much of a disappointment I see it as. This is a game console that, for some reason, I, along with many others, thought was really going to be something different. But why? It was advertised as a little box that could play Android games, and we got exactly that. And yet somehow, it disappoints in pretty much every way possible, especially the controller. I hate that controller so much. Now, I mentioned earlier how Towerfall had sold only a little over 7,000 copies. Well, the Ouya itself apparently sold just under 200,000 systems. Goodness, I'm taking my bow out, it's not staying. Now, how many of those systems were never opened or returned? How many were defective? How many were played once or twice to screw around with some game demos or emulators and thrown in a closet never to be seen again? For some context on just how terrible that 200,000 units number is, the Virtual Boy is considered Nintendo's greatest failure, and even that sold over 700,000 systems. As terrible as a game console that could only display red and black graphics was, it still managed to sell 3.5 times better than the fucking Ouya. Usually I want to approach things more level-headedly, but the Ouya deserves to be torn into. No mercy, no holding back, no holds barred. It's a system only worth owning if you desire a weird conversation piece. And sure, some could say, or at least it's small and sleek, but so small that the weight of its own cables can pull it off of a shelf. And as for aesthetics, if you turn it upside down, it really does look like a sad metallic chode.
Fuck them! They're shit! That's a shit system! And you say it looks, the system looks like a chode? I don't know what a chode is, but I'm sure that shit and your system looks just like it. And that's so just basically it. I'm very, very sorry, Jamie, that you spent your money or threw your money away on Ouya. We all get fucked over with stuff we buy. All of us, so don't feel terrible, Jamie. But Ouya sucks.